Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss what was said on December 1st of 2020. So if you missed the class, this is a video for you. So what I first want you to do is I want you to go to second 9 weeks and I want you to click week number 4. Then we're going to go to December. We're going to go to December 1st. Then I want you to click on lecture book page 2 or page 42. Click on that. Then what I want you to do is I want you to place your thumb over top of this picture until it gives you these options. Then I want you to save image. The image will now be saved into your photos. Let's go to the photos, shall we? So, photo. Where are you at, photo? Okay. So we're going to go over here and we're going to click on this. Now, as you can see, since you're in the Photos app, you have the option to edit in the top right-hand corner. I want you to click edit in the top right-hand corner. Now you have this new page that looks like this. You have a bunch of stuff that's called a heads-up display. And on your heads-up display, you can see a cancel in the top left and a done in the top right. And then to the left of that done button is a circle with 3 little dots in it. I want you to click that. And I want you to click mark up. Now you have the ability to mark up your screen. And since you had missed today's work, you can either mark up your screen on the iPad while watching this YouTube video, or you can just take a sheet of paper, watch this YouTube video, take a picture of it, and upload it to me. Regardless, either way, I want the materials. So, problem number 1. Joe's apple weighs 4/5 of a pound. Martha's apple weighs 0.5 pounds. How much more does Joe's apple weigh than Martha's? So what I want you to do is I first want you to ask yourself, what's important here? Now if you look here, you can see that Joe's apple weighs 4/5 of a pound, and Martha's apple weighs 1/2 pound. How much more does Joe's apple weigh than Martha's? So we want to know how much more is Joe's apple than Martha's. And when you want to know how much more something is, you take the biggest number and you subtract it from the smaller number, and that will give you your result. Right here, we'll put it in this little box here. So we want to take what Joe's apple weighs, which was 4/5 of a pound, and we want to subtract that from Martha's, which is 0.5 pounds. Now I can subtract 4/5 from 0.5 pounds, but I will need to, well, you got to figure out what the decimal is for 4/5, okay? So let's go to the scale. So what is 4/5 in a decimal form? Well, I know that this is the same as 4 divided by 5. And that can be written as 5 into 4. It goes how many times? So how many times can 5 go into 4? I know I really can't get 5 full things out of 4, so I'm going to have a fraction or a decimal. So I need to put here, and I need to think to myself, how many times can 5 go into 4? It can go in 0 times. So 5 times 0 is 0. 4 minus 0 is 4. Now, since I know this has to be a fraction, I can't forget to put that decimal point up here in the quotient. So I'm now going to ask myself, how many times can 5 go into 40? Well, it goes in 8 times. So 4/5 is equal to 0.8. Or if you like to think of it in percentages, 4/5 is equal to 80%. So if you got 4 out of 5 questions right on a test, you would get an 80% B. Now let's go back to our markup. So I know that this 4/5 is equal to 0.8 pounds. And I'm going to subtract that by 0.5 pounds, and that will give me 0.3 pounds. Now that is A. So at 2:30 a.m., the temperature in Jolene is 3 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature drops 3/4 of a degree in 30 minutes. What is the temperature in Jolene at 3 a.m.? Well, we can remember that 1/4 from last class is equal to 0.25. So if I had 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equaling 3/4, I know that 1/4 is 0.25 plus 0.25 plus 0.25, which is equal to 0.75. And it says here that the temperature drops 3/4 of a degree. Now, drop indicates that this is going to be a negative number. So it's going to drop, or the temperature is going to go down 3/4 of a degree. So if you look at this problem, you can automatically tell that C and D ain't going to work, because C is 3.75, which is higher than 3, and D won't work because it's clearly higher. But now we need to figure out, well, what is 3 degrees Fahrenheit minus 0.75 degrees Fahrenheit? So what is 3 degrees Fahrenheit minus 0.75 degrees Fahrenheit? Well, personally, I like to make sure that my numbers are lined up. It makes it easier to subtract. So we already know that 3/4 is equal to 0.75. So 3 subtracted by 0.75. Does that look right to you? You should be shaking your head no and screaming at the screen. So what I really need to do is make sure I have a decimal point here and add 2 zeros over there. Now I can take this away. And I know that I'm going to have to borrow from this 3 to make that a 2 and make this 10. Then that makes that 9 because I got to borrow to make that 10. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. And 2 minus 0 is 2. So our answer is going to be 2.25 degrees Fahrenheit. Now for this next one, write each number in the appropriate box to show its placement among the number line. So what I like to do to solve this type of problem is I'm looking for the highest number first and the lowest number first. So the highest number here is something in between this 2.375 and this 2 2/9. So I know that 2.375 is on the number line, right? And 2.375 is going to be a little bit over 2 1/4. And 2 1/4 is indicated right here by this little blue line I just drew. Now let me undo that so you guys don't have to see that blue line. But that's where I just put that blue line. That's equal to 2.25. So we know that this definitely has to be above 2.25, right? This one right here has to be above 2.25. 2.3 75 goes right here. And now we can erase that. Now we need to ask ourselves, what number is the second highest, which is 2 and 2 nice. Now, the next highest number that we have on the list has to be in between 1 and 2. Okay, so between 1 and 2, this is less than 1, or this one's less than 1, this one's less than 1. All the negatives are definitely less than 1. So that just leaves us with this one by process of elimination. But if you were to change that from an improper fraction to a proper one, you would see that 5/3 is equal to 1 and 2/3. Okay, so this next box right here will be 5/3. Now let's continue onwards. Let's get rid of that pesky 5/3. Ahaha! Now if you look here in this number line, let's zoom in a little bit. Let's look in between 0 and 1 on the number line here. So in between 0 and 1, we have that little tick mark. The first one that we have after 0, it is to the right. And that is in the positive direction. So these are divided into quarters. So that's the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter. Fourth quarter brings us to a new start. And I tell you what, this right here, that first tick mark I have, is equal to 0.25. So if that's equal to 0.25, I know that anything below that has to be less than 0.25. So which one of these numbers here that I have circled is less than 0.25? Well, what about 3/11? What do we know about that? What do we know what that is in decimal form? Let's figure that out, right? Let's get rid of this stuff. And let's do a little bit of dividing. What is 3 divided by 11? 3 divided by 11 looks like this. You can even write it out. 3 divided by 11. There's many ways to do it. How many things can you get out? How many things of 11 can you get out of 3? That's another way to say it. Well, how many? Well, let's find out. Let's split it apart. Let's see. How many groups of 11 can I get out of 3? Well, I can't get 11 things out of 3, can I? So I know this is going to be a fraction or a decimal. So I need to ask myself now, how many times can 11 go into 30? Well, 11 times 2 is 22. So what is 30 minus 22? That's 8. Now, don't be alarmed if you couldn't come up with the answer that quickly. I've just been around the sun longer than you, okay? So now I have a remainder of 8, but I want this into a decimal, so that means I need to add another 0 here in the hundredths place. How many times can 11 go into 80? Well, it can go in there 7 times, because 11 times 7 is 77, and 80 minus 77 is 3. Now, I don't want that pesky remainder of 3, so I'm going to put another 0 here in the thousandths place. And how many times can 11 go into 30? Oh, it can go in 2 times. So, we know that it can go in 2 times, right? And go in 2 times. So now I ask myself, 11 times 2 is 22. I take away 22 from 30, which leaves me with a remainder of 8. And then I have to put another 0 here in the 10,000ths place. And I say to myself, okay, how many times can 11 go into 80? This seems like I've done this before. Maybe I have. So this here is a repeating decimal, and it's a clear giveaway because right here's a 30, here's an 80, here's a 30, here's an 80. You see that pattern? That's good. So we know now that